Warning: the opinions discussed in this video do not necessarily represent my own views. Rather, it is a rationalization and analysis of marginalized opinions. What's up everyone, Master Fox here today. This will be the first part of a two-part video series covering the two different viewpoints and arguments in the debate of archetypal support versus generic support. Of course, a third option that is very valid is, why not both? But for the purposes of this video, I will ignore that choice and assume that if we could only have one kind of support in the future, what would be better for the game and why? A lot of players argue that generic cards are far better for the game than inherently designed archetypal cards. The main reflection of this can be seen in a game such as Magic the Gathering, where every single card is essentially generic. Generic support opens the door for all players to creative deck building because decks don't just come pre-built out of the oven by Konami. Archetypes stifle deck building to basically reading all of the cards with the same unifying name and then deciding which of them are actually good, throwing them together with whatever the best staple cards are, and then testing to adjust the numbers of each card you run, and then that's basically it. You don't even really need to worry about synergy because since they're archetypal cards to begin with, they were made to synergize by Konami themselves. At least the cases of good archetypes anyways. That brings me to the second problem that we have. Too many archetypes are complete garbage. If we have to have archetypal support and Konami is giving us junk, then basically they are all worthless because even if there is a single gem of a card in a bad archetype, chances are that it'll never get to see play since it can't correctly be used outside of its own deck, which, well, no one wants to use because it's bad. This is a major disadvantage because if an archetype is bad, that essentially makes all the cards of that archetype worthless because they will largely be inaccessible by any other deck. Going back to what I spoke of in the beginning, archetypes are bad for the game because besides basically killing any form of creative deck building, it allows for Konami to easily dictate the pace and progression of the metagame, shaping it at their beck and call rather than it being the other way around, where players try and break the game with what they have, and then Konami following it up and trying to curb any of these insane strategies that are developed. But instead, with archetypes, Konami can generate pseudo-format rotation like the standard format in Magic the Gathering without having true rotation though. They can do this just by killing archetypes directly, which allows them to pluck them from the roots, as we see in our previous ban list where all the major meta decks were killed just so that they could sell off the next few sets. Consider decks like Monarchs, DDT, and Teledad, where it took Konami multiple ban lists to kill, since these decks weren't archetypal decks. It was very hard for them to nail it correctly because the strategy was player created, not made from the R&D team from the start. This makes it more difficult for Konami to simply execute your deck when the time comes for them to sell new product. They have to eventually axe a lot of cards to make this effective. Now this can be seen as a negative point to generic cards, but I don't really see it as such. Also, I've been mentioning Magic the Gathering a lot in this video, so I'll talk about it a little bit here. Even if you know almost nothing about the game, you should at least know that it's split between 5 different colors. This is how the game essentially circumvents archetypes and can go for generics, as the colors serve as pseudo-archetypes. As the colors basically lock you into different sets of cards, but the color that you choose for your deck doesn't necessarily mean that you can only use cards from that color. You're still open to selecting several different colors, and this is how Magic the Gathering can get away with pure generic cards and functioning as a whole. Hearthstone has a similar idea, using classes serving as the archetypes of that game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not truly operate in that way and is in a unique position. In the old days, all cards that came out were basically generic and truly available to every single deck in the game. This is why if generic support was pushed further, creativity could be very insane in the game, allowing every single card that was released to be used in every single deck, allowing for basically limitless combinations. As it is right now though, archetypes basically rule the game, and before you choose a deck, you choose an archetype to build around, and that's generally the strategy that you go forward with. Archetypes essentially remove the element of creativity in deck building. That's basically why archetypes are so bad for the game. It generates this stifle in creativity in deck building. So that's pretty much it for this video. Do you guys agree with this viewpoint or do you guys disagree? Tell me in the comment section below, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.